Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Jeremy. This is the Financial Education Channel, and we are talking earnings craziness. So many stocks have reported earnings today after the bell that I was like, I just got to post a video about it. And including my number one investment, Gopro, they reported. Amazon, we're covering them in this video, and we're also covering Chipotle. There's tons of other stocks that report, like Decker's Outdoor, which is a big shoe company. They're down like 23%. FireEye, they're down like 17%. It's really a bloodbath. The Chipotle is a stock that's down the least after these earnings today. I think they're only down 1% right now. GoPro's down like 13%, which isn't as bad as it seems when you factor in that stock is up 27% in the past month. So, but still, it's not fun to be down 13%. Amazon's down over 4%. So it's like a bloodbath after earnings right now. So we're covering three. We're covering my number one investment, GoPro. We're covering Amazon. We're covering Chipotle. And just so you guys know, in the future, I'm going to start actually live streaming on Twitter when I have certain, companies I follow, when they have an earnings. I'm going to live stream something like this where it's actually going to be live and I stream it, and I don't have to make like a full video about this and set up all my fancy equipment, all that kind of stuff, guys. So follow me on Twitter. Link is in the description bar in case you want to get earnings updates and things like that and get my opinion, because there's a lot of companies I follow, like Apple and Google and companies like that I don't really talk about their earnings too much. So I would love to do it just on a short little live stream, on Twitter or whatnot. So let's get into this, guys. So GoPro, number one stock, I hold and whatnot. It's my biggest investment. So what do we have going on? We're going to talk about the good and the bad here. Number one thing for me is back to growth. GoPro is now back to a growth company. They grew revenues almost 24% last quarter, and that changes the mindset to a certain extent as far as if you're not positive on the stock, or you're someone that might think about getting in, or you're a short seller. No matter who you are in that space, you cannot deny the fact that GoPro is now growing revenues again. They also expect to grow them in the next quarter, and I would say probably overall in 2017, although they didn't provide guidance on that, which we'll get into. But the fact is, GoPro is back to growth, and that makes me feel very happy as an investor, because the last year plus, GoPro was down. Every single quarter, revenue was down and down and down. So to be back to growth and up over 20% revenue growth, that's a positive sign. Number two, market share grew. They grew 400 basis points as far as market share. They're up to about over 26% market share of the digital imaging space was sold through Q4. So they're growing market share very nicely. So they're not losing market share, which is another thing. A lot of shorts will try to tell you, oh, they're losing market share, or misinformation. Oh, there's all these Chinese competitors. They're going to take market share. That's not true. They actually grew market share very nicely that last quarter, guys. Number three, during the call, Nick Woodman, he came out and he said they're going to have a Hero 6 in 2017. They're going to have new accessories in 2017. They're going to have new software products. That is a relief, because from 2014 all the way to 2016, they had no new product in there. 2015, they did not release a flagship product. And as an investor, I'm kind of like scared going into 2017 thinking, they released Hero 5 this past year. Are they going to skip a year and screw up that again? So the fact that they have Hero 6 coming this year, that's a good feeling for me. And I'm really excited to see that Hero 6 and some of these new accessories, because now all these new products are all going to be made by that super, I cannot remember the guy's name ever, but he came over from Apple. He was like Johnny Ive's right-hand man. Johnny Ive, the guy behind pretty much every Apple product ever. Steve Jobs' right-hand man, Johnny Ive. This was Johnny Ive's right-hand man. GoPro hired him away from Apple. The Hero 6 and all the new accessories over the next year plus, we'll see, they're all going to be his products, all with his touch, all with his mold, all with his design components. He had over 20 years experience at Apple designing some of the most popular products ever in the history of mankind, guys. A lot of them, you guys out there probably own them. So I'm super psyched to see that, because the Hero 5 cameras, the Karma drone, the Karma grip, although I'm excited about those products, I think they're good products. They did not have his hands on it, because he came in way too late in the process. He just got hired like 6 months ago. So there's no way he could have really developed anything with those products. It would be unrealistic. So really excited about Hero 6 in 2017 and some of the new accessories and some of the new software type products they're coming out with. That is going to be exciting. Number 4, Karma's back on the market. That's the last good thing we're talking about. Karma is back on the market. And although, my expectations are very muted from what they were when the product was launched because of the recall and whatnot. I think some negativity around that. And then, DJI came out with the Mavic, and they're just super competitive. So my expectations for Karma are muted. But still, regardless, yeah, it's a good thing to have the product back out there, even if it only brings in, let's say 10, 20, $30 million in revenue per quarter. Still $10 to $30 million in revenue per quarter. You cannot sneeze at that, especially when you're a company as small as GoPro. And now to the bad stuff. The guidance was pathetic for Q1. They guided for about $200 million in guidance, which is only up about 10% over last year. And this is with Karma Drone coming out now. Karma Drone's been released back into the market as of yesterday. So I look at that and I'm like, what kind of crappy guidance is this? And then you have Hero 5, coming in and that sold through very well in Q4. They had the lowest inventory out there in the retail channels that they've had since 2014 when the Hero 4 was launched. So I'm looking at all these things and I'm like, how are you expecting to only do a 200 million number? This should be a $250 million plus number you're going to post up here in Q2. So I'm mad about that, but at the same time, I'm not as nearly as angry as I would be if any other one of my stocks provided a crappy guidance like that. The reason being is GoPro has disappointed. I mean, way before I was invested in the stock, I tracked the stock, and what they would do is they would overpromise, underdeliver. Overpromise and say they're going to do this great number, and then they come in under that. And then they're going to do this great number, and then they come in under that. And, even if it's a small miss, it's still a miss in Wall Street's eyes. How you really get a stock moving in the right direction is you come out with guidance that's, realistic that you can do, and then you beat that guidance. And then you do it quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. And then Wall Street takes into account that, wow, this company's killing earnings every single time. This is probably a freaking good company. This is probably a very good stock. So with them and all their screw ups, and they've missed numbers since I've been invested in the company. They missed numbers and missed numbers and missed numbers, and they missed numbers in Q4. They missed it by about $30 million. They were supposed to do about a little over $570 million. They only posted a little over $540 million. So they missed numbers again. So I look at this and I'm like, I'm pissed that the guidance is really crappy, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe this is for the better, because the last thing I want them to do is come out with some kind of, big number and, oh yeah, we're going to do this number. And then they miss again and disappoint everybody again. The stock gets hammered again. So that's kind of my take on the guidance for this next quarter. And then the last bad thing is they didn't do yearly guidance. They said last year, and I think they switched CFOs and whatnot, so maybe that switched around things, but they said that they were going to only provide yearly guidance, and they were not going to provide quarterly guidance anymore. Well, now they switched back to the old way, which is now they're not doing yearly guidance, which I was hoping they were going to do because I think they could have really blown people out of the water with the yearly guidance number. And instead, they're just doing back to the quarterly guidance number. So I'm like, pick away GoPro. So that's another bad thing I'm, upset about with GoPro. So basically, all into account, I look at GoPro and I'm like, I kind of feel the same as I did before, but I'm going to feel much worse about my GoPro investment if that guidance they provided actually comes true. If they only do a $200 million number, they don't do a $240, $250, $260 million number next quarter, I'm going to be very much more unconfident in my GoPro investment, and I'll have to ask myself some real questions at that point, guys, because if they just do 200 million and they can only get 10% up over what they did last year, they should be growing a lot faster than that, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens there. Amazon. So Amazon, they beat their earnings. They beat EPS. They did $1.54 versus $1.42. And their stock actually got hit. But why did their stock get hit? Their revenue missed, but it didn't miss by that much. They posted $43 billion in revenue, or over $43 billion in revenue. They were supposed to do a little over $44 billion in revenue. So about a $1 billion difference, which I know seems like a big number, $1 billion. But if you take it as a percent basis, that's not a horrible miss or anything. So, but they did miss. They did miss what analysts were expecting. They also missed analyst guidance as far as what they're expecting for next quarter. So Q1, Amazon's expecting 33 $0.25 billion in revenue to $35.75 billion in revenue. Wall Street was expecting $36 billion. So even at Amazon's highest point, they're still not quite doing what the analysts expected. So, but Amazon sometimes is a company that they like to sandbag numbers a little bit and then beat what analysts expect and whatnot. So take it for what it is. Regardless, Amazon grew fabulously last quarter. I mean, the results, I mean, go look at those Amazon results, guys. It's ridiculous the way they're growing that company. When you take into account how big the company is now, how, $43 billion in revenue, and they're growing at the pace they're growing. It's very, very impressive. Only huge company that's really growing like that, well, there's really two of them, Facebook and Google and Amazon. They're really the three huge monster companies that are growing at that type of clip. It's very impressive. Chipotle reported revenues of a 3.7% increase in revenue, so that was a good sign. Chipotle's coming off a horrific year. That was one of the Wall Street darlings, for 2014 and prior, Chipotle was a Wall Street darling. The stock could do no wrong, and then the whole E. coli situation happened, and that just affected the whole entire company and the stock in such a negative way. But they finally are back to revenue increase, 3.7%. So that's a good sign. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, this is another good thing. Comparable restaurant store sales, they grew 14.7% in the quarter. So that's very, very impressive there. And then lastly, now we're kind of getting to the negative things. Restaurant level operating margin. So, basically what they're making for a margin out of the restaurants is now 13.5% versus it used to be 19.6%. So that's not a good sign, but they've had a lot of costs they're doing. They're trying to make sure they don't have another E. coli situation or any type of situation like it. So they're spending a lot of money in the restaurants, and that's taken down their operating margin, and they haven't been able to increase prices. That's another big thing. And then also they're doing a lot of promotions to get people into the stores. I know we've had coupons for buy one, get one free burritos. We've had coupons for, we just used them the other night. Basically, you buy an entree, you get a free guac and chips. We use those, we're like, heck yeah, let's do that. So those type of things, they definitely do hurt operating margin. So that's something we've seen with Chipotle there. Net income was $16 million in the quarter. That compares to $68 million in last year's quarter. So we're talking about a dramatic decrease. I mean, they're still profitable. That's good. But gosh, from 68 million to 16 million, that's dramatic. That's freaking dramatic, guys. And that all comes from that restaurant operating margin being down so much. And lastly here, diluted earnings per share was 55 cents. A decrease from $2.17 they did last year. So I look at Chipotle and I'm like, that's great. They're growing revenues again. That's great. They got restaurants same store sales going the right way. But gosh, man, the profitability has been eroded at that company. Amazon I look at and I'm like, that company's just a beast. Maybe the expectations are just too high on it now. It's one I don't invest in just because I can't invest in those hyper growth companies that have super high PEs. I mean, it's just too much for me. Gopro I look at and I'm like, I'm really like waiting to see Q1 numbers. I'm like, if they freaking only do $200 million in revenue, I'm gonna be 100% wrong on the stock, just straight up. I mean, I expect them to do way better than that. So if they do a $200 million number and that's it, I'm going to have to rethink my entire investing philosophy around GoPro because they should kill that number in that quarter, guys. So that's kind of where I'm at with all three of those stocks. Let me know in the comments section if you are in any of these stocks, if you have an opinion on any of these stocks. I mean, I know I got a few short sellers of GoPro on this channel, so I'm sure you guys are, having the last laugh here today. So congratulations to any of you guys watching it. And then don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I'm going to start, like I said, I'm going to start live streaming every once in a while whenever I feel like updating an earnings call or something, or, if a company comes out with earnings, I can just do a short 1-minute video on my cell phone or whatever and post it up there. And then you guys can have my opinion on this rather than doing a full scale video and all this stuff, guys. So anyways, thank you for watching today, guys, and have a great day.